Hi there, everyone. This is Sharon for another Self Care You Nugget. Remember to like and share. Remember to turn on the notification. And remember to subscribe. And with these self care nuggets, you never know what time they're going to come on. Because you know why? Because of the fact when it comes to life, unfolding, when it comes to things happening in life, we never know what time. We never know when. And so this is one of the ways that you can have something that's enjoyable that's coming your way that you can embrace without knowing the time, because you could get so stuck and then all kind of things happen to us happen to you when you get stuck in something. So train yourself to be able to enjoy and embrace things as they come. It's almost like looking forward to something that you don't even know when. And so that's what we can do with life. Continue to be the greatness that you are, despite all the challenges that can happen, because we must be real in that everything is not peaches and cream. And so, what about you? And so, what we will talk about today is being financially comfortable. And so, lately, you have been hearing me talk about um, me being in the financial services world and how that goes hand in hand in self-care, because it directly impacts in the beginning, in the middle, in the end, especially when it comes to your health. That is where it's at. And so one of the things I want to say is that don't get comfortable in your in being financially comfortable. That's being financially comfortable where you don't have enough money. It's like, oh, well, this is how life is. This is all that I can do. Don't get comfortable in that. But especially do not be financially comfortable because you can pay the bills. Do not be financially comfortable. Say, oh, I'm good. I don't need anything else. Oh, I'm scared, because this is not how you build generational wealth. But the biggest thing is that I have seen, experienced it personally, in that being financially comfortable when you need it the most, it's not going to always help you. Or if it does help you, if you're at a good space of being financially comfortable, meaning like you have hundreds of thousands of dollars if something was to happen, but will it drain your account? You know? And so that's the thing, in that even if you do have 3 to 6 months saved up, but then what? And then what? Do you really have something in place that can really take care of you? And again, this comes from a personal space. And what I'm encouraging you to do is to contact me for a financial analysis, needs assessment, so that we can see where you are. Let's see what can we do here, because two things. I'm going to say one thing right now. Again, being financially comfortable, a lot of times you may not have the financial means, even with health insurance, if you have a heart attack or stroke, or unfortunately end up being diagnosed with dementia, or if you have a child who unfortunately may end up having being diagnosed with cancer or autism or Asperger's, because we know with autism and Asperger's, for those of us who are in the mental health field, in that this is a diagnosis that is diagnosed later in life, usually up to about the age of 4. I mean, up to age of 5. Sometimes it can be after that, but especially between ages 2 and 3, you may start seeing things. And even though some individuals, especially with Asperger's, can end up being diagnosed later in life, ideally, if the person is able to be diagnosed before age 18, then they can, quote unquote, get the benefits. You see where I'm going with this? And even if someone qualifies for benefits, it's almost never enough It's never enough. And so when you, again, are thinking in the future about your finances, about your life, when you're, creating your business, especially for those of you who have a private practice or a wellness center, whatever it may be, in that sense, we really need to think about the beyond. It's not just about making the money. It's like, what can your money do for you? Because again, you can do well in your business, but are you set up if you were to have a heart attack or stroke or be diagnosed with dementia or have a child who is diagnosed with a medical or mental health challenge, to have something in place? Because going back to what I was saying before, is that especially with a child who's diagnosed with autism and Asperger's, most of the time when they're an adult, that's when they end up struggling financially. So if there's something that can be put in place, again, before the diagnosis, it's not that you're really thinking about the diagnosis when you put things in place, but it's almost kind of like a just in case. Because therefore, if they don't have it, the funds could be used for something else. And again, what about you? None of us are exempt. It doesn't matter if we're degreed or not. It doesn't matter if we're a therapist or not. It doesn't matter if you're in the wellness community or a healer or anyone. When it comes to a medical condition, being diagnosed with cancer, you know, in that no one is exempt. We never know. Even with us taking care of ourselves, it can still happen. But most of us, I've done it, based on what I was making at the time. But then when it was needed, I didn't have the money. You know what I'm saying? Because again, when it came to my parents, they were financially comfortable. They did well, per se. You know what I'm saying? They were able to travel and do so many different things until, medical challenges came along. And even though they were able to afford to live into assisted living, but then what? Again, my family didn't have the means to the then what thereafter, so that it can kind of have a little cushion when it comes to that. And even for those of you who may be able to contribute to family who may experience those things, where is it coming from? Because you still don't want to drain, let's say, any emergency funds that you may have. And so let's start thinking about certain things that you can put in place. You want to send your child to college. Granted, if you're able to afford to pay it, but you can plan for it when before they're 1 year old. You know what I'm saying? And so there's so many different things. Again, I've been guilty, just living in the now. You can live in the now and the future. Because again, we're saying, oh, generational wealth. But then as soon as somebody mentioned insurance or financial, oh no, I'm good. I already have it. Do you really? Have you sat down with someone? Because especially in running a business, there are certain things you need in place. I didn't even know this until I started investigating it. And some of it really came about when I added the financial services to my business. It's like, oh, I don't know all of this. So I know if I didn't know it, a lot of people don't, because we just want to help people. But are we helping ourselves financially? Because just because if you're making six figures or more, just because you're making that, you still can be financially comfortable, but you may not still be able to pay out money like you want to if something was to happen. And when it goes to, the GoFundMe, yes, definitely, I'm going to say thank you for all the individuals who are able to donate, but the emotional toll that it takes when something happens and you're like, how I'm going to pay rent, how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to do that, especially when you're not in a place where you can physically work. Is one thing if something comes up, you can say, okay, I can go out and get another job, or I can use my skills to, create some money. But if you're physically sick or even mental challenges, what else can we put in place? Again, yes, live in the now, but also plan for the future. What is when it comes to being financially comfortable, let's get beyond that. Let's get financial abundance. And it takes some work in doing that. It takes you to a place where you've never been before. So, what books are you reading? What are you putting in place? Are you talking to a financial advisor, a financial professional, a financial crusader like myself, so that we can have conversations? Again, there's no such thing as uncomfortable conversations. You've heard me say this before, in these self-care nuggets. You've heard me say this before with conscious sharing, that it's not about uncomfortable. It's about having conversations that need to be had. This is what self-care is all about. Self-care is about doing the things that we need to do in order to get things done. Okay, you want to be able to leave your family, and not just leave, is to be right here in the now, and at least thinking in the future. So there's so much. It's almost like, even just by me talking, I'm like, okay, I don't list about 4 or 5 things on here that can, definitely be in future self-care nuggets, so that you can get exactly what you need. But the thing is to act now, because you know why? Tomorrow is not promised, and what you put in place today can save a life, can save your life, and also it can make the lives of your loved one so much better because you took action today. Not only do we need to make sure we let others know that we appreciate them and that we show them, but let's also show them by setting up financial abundance, and not just being financially comfortable, because financially comfortable is just doing what needs to be done in order to live in this society. So abundance is doing the next step. So what next step are you doing so that you can have an abundance? Because this goes back into self-care. Self-care is doing those things that you don't feel like doing, but it needs to be done. You don't feel like feeling it, but it needs to be done, or it needs to be felt. You don't feel like, you don't want to say it, but it needs to be said in a loving way. And then sometimes may not be so loving, because we, again, sometimes need to get out of that. Like, oh, it needs to feel so good and this and that. Believe me, I've experienced that. Like, oh, okay, there's a time and place for that. But the main thing is to take care of yourself, so that things about you, through you, and with you can be taken care of. And do not leave your family in chaos, even while you're living. Think about that. Make sure your family, your friends, your loved ones are not in chaos while you are living. And so that is going beyond being financially comfortable. Financially comfortable may pay the rent, but financially comfortable may not pay for assisted living. So set yourself up so that you can be in abundance of where you want to be. It takes planning, it takes patience, it takes you planting that seed and sowing the seed, so that you can reap the benefits of the harvest that you set in place. So it's not enough about the mindset. It's setting a plan, it's learning. Let's take the time of learning, so that you and your family can be in a better place. So make sure you get in contact with me today, so you can be in a better way. So thank you for listening to Self Care Nugget.